Today we're going to talk to a mountaineer who at the age of 16 was the youngest boy to scale Mount Everest. Not only that, over the last decade or so, he's actually scaled multiple mountains and 6 out of the 14 biggest mountains above 8,000 meters in the world. Now what's interesting is that this person has done it all. Zid karke, at the age of 16, he actually scaled Mount Everest. He started and he's running successful businesses. He also is a motivational speaker, constantly challenging himself again and again. I mean, at this one point, he was even talking about 2-3 weeks ago, he almost got his toes amputated because his toes got frostbite. Luckily, his toes sahi salamat hai and there's no problem. But the interesting thing is, what is a person like that who's had near-death experiences think about money and what's his relationship with it? What motivates him? Because no one's telling him ki bhai jaake pahad chadao. He's doing this on his own. You'll find certain aspects of his life very interesting, and I think we all have a mountain to climb. We all are scared. We all are looking up at that summit thinking, dude, I'm not even prepared for this. But you still take that first step. So I hope you enjoy today's podcast.
यार तू कितना कमाता है
Before we met, right, मैं सोचा कि मैं सारे इंटरव्यू देखूं, get to know Arjun, look through, and मैंने oh dude, this guy's a Wikipedia page. I was damn impressed. Then I looked at your photos, कहीं में एकदम burned थे तो I will ask you about that. But I had one question that's going through my mind. Okay? How much do you earn, man? कमाते हो?
नहीं ठीक ठाक कर लेते नहीं अभी I was always a very enterprising person, so I think it won't be a understatement to say we are officially definitely India's richest mountaineer.
Is that true?
अब बाकी का तो पता नहीं, तो अपने में हम लोग चौड़ी में रह लेते हैं कि हाँ माउंटेनियरिंग हुआ है. Yes, thankfully we've been very blessed to have a lot of sponsors and very good partners who've been able to help us establish like a brand and then take the business
But basically
forward.
sponsorship.
A lot of sponsorships, and then we run another business. We are into running adventure camps and adventure programs in schools and corporates. So maybe conglomerates to tech companies to financial companies everywhere, and lots of schools all around India. We run adventure programs. We do motivational sessions.
How many kids have taken these programs?
So we've already crossed 1 million students in the school sector.
That's crazy, man.
And then
10 lakh students.
Obviously, we are in every corporate which you see. You can pick any name, and we have done outbound leadership programs with them.
All this because a crazy 16-year-old said usko Mount Everest chadna hai.
All this, yes, you can say that. That was the stepping stone for me. But I think, climbing mountains is a very beautiful phenomenon. You don't only have a change in perspective philosophically, but also, let's say, just not a change in perspective physically. You don't just gain a vantage point by standing on top of a mountain to look at things very differently, but also philosophically. Because it's not all the things when you're standing down at a mountain, you look up, which seems so big, which seems so important. Once you're standing on the top and then you're looking down, then everything seems so insignificant, so small, right? So change of perspective definitely plays a very big role. Not just physically, as I said, again trying to mention it, but philosophically also.
But ऐसा भी तो लगा होगा यार कि हम जहाँ पे मैं खड़ा हूँ यहाँ पे ज़्यादा लोग have not been able to make this point, right? Like that traveling all the way up, and you were 16. I mean, I didn't know anything at 25 only. I was 16 तो क्या ही पता था, but you reached there. How did it actually feel? How difficult was the journey? And once you were at the top, did you just like quickly take that selfie and come down? Or were you there? Did you look at life? वहाँ पे philosophical thoughts आए तो कैसे हुआ?
Journey is about 2.5 months long, from the base camp to the top. You have to acclimatize. There are a lot of things, but I won't get into details. For that, you can read my book, On Top of the World, My Everest Adventure by Arjun. It's out with Puffins. We are now writing a second version also of it. But so the process is very long and slow. Your body has to slowly acclimatize to lower oxygen levels. You keep doing a lot of rotations up and down. It's physically impossible to carry all the load which you require for all the 4 camps. up on the mountain in one go, but the second part of it is also acclimatization. Your body has to get used to lower oxygen levels. So you climb high, you sleep low, you go up higher, then you again come down and you sleep lower. So you keep acclimatizing slowly.
Climb and then you come back down.
Yes. So there are multiple
like
rotations
life.
which you do. So that is life.
Like Jindagi.
like this is exactly like
So you'll
Zindagi.
climb बड़ी मुश्किल से and then say चलो नीचे चलोगे.
Then you have to dump loads and come back down, then give your body rest, then you recover, then you climb higher next time because the route is open to a certain point. So every step is very difficult. You have to make way. It's not like Noida Great Noida की highway बन रखा है.
एक बार में पहुंच गए.
हाँ, तो धीरे-धीरे जाते हैं, and obviously on the top, then you don't end up spending so much time. 29,035 feet is quite an altitude to be at. Body is under a lot of stress. We spend about 15-20 minutes up on the summit, clicking pictures, absorbing the moment, and then the journey back starts because the summit is only half complete to the summit, right?
Oh wow, that
right?
was nice.
You have to make it back home safely. There's not a climb which is successful until you climb back down on your own two legs back to the base camp. If you die somewhere while coming back down,
That's
if
possible.
Yes, while
Coming
on
down must be easier, no? I'm sorry. I don't-
so climbing up is physically challenging but less risky. Climbing down is physically less tasking, but you're disorientated, you're more exhausted, and it's much more riskier to accidents to happen. So maximum accidents which happen in mountaineering happen while we're coming down because you're definitely disorientated with such long movements. If you've been climbing with a heavy backpack, let's say for the last 20 hours, 25 hours, right? आपको मैं 5 घंटे बैठने का भी बोल दूंगा एक जगह पे तो नहीं हो पाता. 10 घंटे बैठने का भी बोल दूंगा तो your bum will start hurting, back will start hurting. But climbing, just standing on your feet for so long, so you're draining energy. So on your way back down, then most of the accidents happen. Not just on Everest, on any mountaineering expedition because you're more exhausted
And
basically.
physical changes क्या हो रहे हैं? Like, I mean, I don't know how cold it is. I'm guessing very cold.
Yeah.
And what's physically happening to
Minus
your
60,
brain?
minus 70 degrees Celsius is the basic temperature
Minus
conditions.
70.
So you take a cup of hot boiling water and you throw it in the air, it won't reach the ground, right? Just boiling water.
Really? Is that?
Water starts to boil over a certain altitude also, much faster because of the atmospheric pressure. So at 60, 70 degrees Celsius itself, it starts to boil at elevations above 8,000 meters, basic physics. There's a lot of, your body is going through a lot of stress, so there's water seeping between your brain and your skull, there's water seeping into your lungs, your stomach muscles are contracting, your brain cells are dying. So the brain cells are the only cells, as you know, which don't regenerate ever. So obviously I'll be like telling a story and then sometimes I just blank out. So the chain of command is there, but some of the cells are dead. So the energy is still there. I kind of remember stuff, but I have like partial memory loss as well sometimes with certain stories.
So you said drop in IQ while
Yes.
you're actually going up.
Correct. So with the hypoxic state of mind, lack of oxygen happening to your brain, obviously your IQ drops to, at the summit of Everest, let's say at 29,035 feet, you have the IQ of a 4-year-old. So you just cannot process even basic stuff like if I tell you 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 4. So simple. 3 2s, 1 4. It's
I had
10.
seen a video of you, and I told you before you entered here. I was looking at this video, and एकदम यहाँ पे नाक जल गया, and you barely. I think you had cotton mouth. Your mouth was very पानी चाहिए था, and you were like, guys, I'm here, and then I'm like, अभी अर्जुन कुछ बोलेगा. He's like, I'm walking. I'm like, walking. So I understand. I
अरे
guess.
walking भी हो रहा है वो भी बड़ी चीज है उसमें. वहाँ पे walking भी नहीं हो पाता. You're crawling. So it's a harsh environment to be in. But I think I was designed in a way where I did not like simple things generally. If the chase is more harder, I like it much better. Things which I'm designed in a little funny manner. Like if everything goes right, if everything is going away, I don't find it exciting. I don't find it adventurous. But when things start going south, that's the time when I gain focus. Suddenly, best parts of myself come out. I'm very composed. When things start happening very fast, or there's an avalanche approaching us, or something like this, like there's this release at the back of my head. It comes down from my neck, and it comes from my shoulders, and there's just this very relaxed state which just sinks in. Generally, I'm very anxious when I'm like down on ground zero and things are going normally, everybody's leading their lives. I'm the most anxious person ever. I just can't. I like intense situations.
No, I love it. I completely relate to this. I think LearnApp also had this like 3 or 4 situations यहाँ पे लगा भाई देखो अब तो ना खत्म है अब तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता and dude you can't for risk of people in the office watching this, but you can't come to office like sad, because your whisper becomes like loudspeaker. Like one of us, any four of us come and be like, dude, yaar, I'm sick of this, dude. Dude, everyone in the office knows. I don't know how, but it's just how it is. So you have to be like, nahi, sab theek hai. And I don't think most people know, but these situations come, right? And dude, this reminds me, okay. So, and you have to be very like self-motivated. We have no investors pushing us. I only have like a very good friend, Nitin, who's like helped us financially, but it's just us. We are the board. The leadership team is the board. We're pushing ourselves every day कि नहीं, ये करते हैं, ये push करते हैं. 4 साल हो गए इसको. So this reminds me, when you started this Everest thing, okay, what it sounded to me like, you said, I'm young, I'm 16. You probably didn't think of this at all. You're like, Mereko, you've decided, after you finished your advanced training as well, I saw that I want to scale Mount Everest. Okay? So you decided. Now, I thought when you want to scale, बोलेंगे, ठीक है, पापा मैं निकल रहा हूँ, सुबह निकल गए. But ऐसे तो होता नहीं है. You have to raise money.
Correct.
So that means, like any entrepreneur who's self-motivated, you first decide I want to reach the summit. Sounds impossible. Then there's a journey to actually prepare to start that journey, because you might have fundraising, you might have to create your first product, etc. For you, it's actually raising money and people believing that this 16-year-old kid can actually do it. And then after that, actually scaling. And so tell me the story, and how much does it cost to actually scale Mount Everest?
So obviously the profession which I chose, coming from a simple middle class family, my father is a retired army officer, he's a paratrooper. My mom is an artist by profession, and having a dream, जब पहली बारी मम्मी को तो बताया था, तो मम्मी ने तो बोला था कि एवरेस्ट का खर्चा था around 30-35 लाख रुपीस का खर्चा था, including my gear which was required for this specific climb.
तो बहुत महंगा है यार.
So they were like, इतने में तो मैं तेरी बहन की शादी करवा दूंगी. It was simple.
हाँ.
है ना? It is so for me, I was like, I have to find a way. And I knew my dad also could not fund us. And he was running his own factory in Surajpur industrial area that time. Business was not very well. So it just so happened. वो बोलते हैं ना कि किसी चीज को पूरी शिद्दत से चाहो तो कायनात पूरा उसको जोड़ने में लग जाती है आपका. तो वैसे ही कुछ हमारे साथ हुआ. So I was very enterprising from even in my school days. So जैसे एडवांस कोर्स करने जाना था, जब आप बता रहे थे जो स्टोरी के बारे में, तो बेसिक एडवांस कोर्स भी जब करने जाता था, इट वाज अ फाइट कि यू आर ऑलरेडी अ फेलियर इन स्कूल, है ना? ऑलरेडी
अच्छा, you weren't bright in school.
No.
नहीं, मतलब
शक्ल से लगता है क्या?
स्मार्ट लगता है, मैं ऐसे पूछ रहा हूँ.
नहीं. I was a below average student. From 6th grade onwards, I was always failing in mostly all my subjects. At least 2 में तो compartment देता ही था हर साल में. 6th class से, जब से स्कूल ऑफिशियली आपको फेल करना शुरू कर सकता है, तो वरना उससे पहले भी आ जाती है, आई एम श्योर. So my basic funda was कि you make me do anything with my 2 hands and my 2 legs, I'm great at it. But as soon as somebody tells me to do something, I can't do it. And if you tell me to sit down and study, if you tell me to reproduce that in front of you, I cannot do it. I like reading, I like listening.
And raising money for your expedition, I'd like to say.
So exactly.
Used your hands and feet.
So no, वो तो it was destiny. I think during my advanced course also, when I went from my school, I carried the school flag. तो मैंने उनसे मांग लिया था, उसका प्रिंट आउट फ्लेक्स पे करा के लेके गया, फिर फोटो खिंचवा के आया ऊपर, वहाँ पे ट्रेनिंग करके, जो भी हमने पहाड़ चढ़ा था DKD 2 करके. So with that photo, I was able to justify the 1 month of school which I missed to my school. So I realized कि इनको इसकी बड़ी वैल्यू होती है, इनको एजुकेशन से ज़्यादा मतलब नहीं. So it did like this. So basically, I knew what people needed for what I wanted.
Must.
Right? So I did that, and then while I was entering my principal's room that time with this flag ka photo, I met a journalist. So he was there to take noting of all the toppers. स्कूल में आते हैं ना, वो हर साल कि ये toppers आए हैं तो इनका न्यूज़पेपर में जाएगा. So he was a guy from, I think, Hindustan.
अच्छा.
And the Hindi one. And then this guy, he saw this guy standing with some mountaineering pictures in his hand. So he stopped and said, ये क्या है? तो मैंने बोला, I'm the youngest person to climb this DKD 2 peak. It's a small mountain.
अच्छा.
And he's like, this is very nice. Can somebody testify this? उसको अपनी कहानी मिल गई.
उसको
अपनी कहानी मिल गई कि नोएडा बॉय है. So in that article which he'd done, in the end there was one paragraph in which he said, what do you want to do next? तो मैंने बहुत जोश में उस टाइम बोला था कि I want to climb Everest because it was in my heart also. And then that day, that thing got picked up by his chief editor. Then for the next 3 or 4 days, I was just on phone calls with people, publications calling me from everywhere. The dream of a 16-year-old climbing Everest
तो तुमको लगा अब
was
तो करना पड़ेगा
so powerful that it just went out. हाँ, एक तो वो तो था, but I never felt pressure to जाना ही था. So it was more like it was better for me. So I realized that this is a great way of reaching out to people. And then in that whole process, when these started publications, just all the newspapers started picking up the story that I'm just aiming to climb Everest as a 16-year-old. I think the love which everybody started showering me was there were people, like there was a carpenter, there's an electrician from Pune. He sent a 500 rupees money order.
And he didn't know you.
He never seen me in my life. He got in touch. There were no contact details ever outside, no PR agency. He got in touch with the newspaper people. The newspaper people called my mom. Then mom called ऐसे करके उन्होंने money order भेजा. Then उनकी mom ने उनको pension आती थी उनके husband से. So she's a retired old woman. So she sent 500 rupees. His wife is a government school teacher. She sent 1500 रुपए का money order वहाँ से आया. फिर ऐसे ही करते करते there were so many more people. There were more than 24,000 people across India. Back in 2009, almost at the beginning of 2010, there was nothing like Keto or crowdfunding platforms, and all of these things were not there. थे भी तो we were not so aware about it. So like this 24,000 people, just by the word of mouth, they reached out to us and they funded most of my expedition. So it was just surely, even I did not work very hard for it. It was surely just the power of a dream, which I say. When you think of doing something seemingly impossible, which probably nobody's ever done before, people start to feel that if he makes it, I have made it.
And they rally around you.
It's that kind of a feeling for them कि मैं तो कभी नहीं जा पाऊंगा, but ये चला गया तो मैं अपना सपना जी लूंगा. So it's that kind of thing, especially like something where people have not done before, something where you're going to be the first one. And back in 2010, nowadays there are a lot of youngsters who picked
It's
up
a national
mountaineering.
pride angle to this also, right? India,
absolutely.
है ना?
So many people just supported us, and then on the wings of hope, I reached Everest. फिर वहाँ जाके first time it struck me, the feeling which you're saying कि I'm standing at the base of Mount Everest and I'm looking up. I've climbed a small 6,000 meter peak right before that. I've done DKD2 and my advanced course. So technically I'm qualified, but obviously there's no experience, right?
6,000 and Everest is how
8848.
8848. Okay.
8,848
So
meters.
it's 2,800 more. Okay.
Right. It's a huge difference.
Achha.
So in the field of mountaineering.
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
And that too, this island peak which I climbed was just 1 or 2 weeks ago. But nonetheless, I'm standing at the base of Mount Everest and I'm looking
And ये
up.
3 महीने की climb है.
So I'm looking up, and then first time I look at Everest in person. अभी तक pictures में देखा है, YouTube में देख लिया. First time था.
और peak तो दिखता नहीं है.
And you see quite a lot, but just the top bit is not, obviously it's hidden. It's so massive, you can't literally see. You just see one side of the mountain when you're so close to the pyramid. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, सच्ची में चढ़ना पड़ेगा यार अब तो, है ना?
आपके साथ कौन है?
वापस जाएंगे तो नाके No, I was by myself. My parents dropped me in Kathmandu and then they went back. So I was on myself with a team of climbers more. We were with Asian Trekking, who was organizing our expedition. So obviously it was a lot of fears, a lot of culmination of a lot of things. But the best thing about being 16 is, see, experience is a double-edged sword. Slowly I realized it. When I was 16, I realized having no experience, you being in your own fool's paradise is the best thing ever. Because आपको पता ही नहीं होता कि जब आप मतलब 100 मीटर गिरोगे, free fall होगा, टांग टूटेगी, कमर की hip bones टूटेंगे, तो कितना दर्द होगा.
You're not thinking of it.
When you're 16, there's not a single day where you can imagine of tomorrow that you will die, right? It's just not in your possibilities, right? But as you slowly gain more and more experience, as you keep going more and more expeditions, unfortunately, learning is a process which our human mind does automatically. Unlearning is the most difficult thing which the human brain can process, right? Unlearning a skill or a memory. Memories तो हम unlearn कर ही नहीं सकते. We can suppress them. So at that point of time, not having enough experience played very well because there was no fear. It was all about going. Mindset was simple. Now, after 14 years, I see the same thing. The ghosts of the past comes to haunt you sometimes, right? Past memories, experience. When you're standing on the tall building of your last 14 years of experience, even if you don't want to remember something, it's always hampering your decision making because it's always in the back of your head that what are the things which can go wrong now?
About experience, right? I think they say ना, when you become old, you become cynicism आ जाता है. ये तो मुश्किल है, ये मत करो, follow the plan. But think about your parents. I'm sure you do. I was thinking about your parents when you were telling me this story. They're the bravest of them all, man.
Correct.
Like, they let you, not let you, but I'll say, yeah, let you. They love you so much. Right? They let you actually stand at the base and they dropped you off and they said, कोई नहीं, Arjun कर लेगा. And then you went off. I mean, very brave.
No, but we were that way from the very beginning. Even when I'd come from a basic mountaineering course, I was packed off from सेक्टर 51 नोएडा के सामने वो स्टेट बस का वो है डेपो. तो वहाँ बस में बिठा दिया था. कंडक्टर को बता दिया था कि आई वाज 13 कि उसको उत्तरकाशी में उतारना है सीधा. बाप रे. है ना. उसको बोलता था किसी से, मुझे बोलता था किसी से कुछ खाने के लिए मत लेना, किसी से कुछ पीने के लिए मत लेना. तो हाँ, तुम्हारे पैसे, ये खाना यहाँ रुकेगी, वहाँ पे रुक के खा लेना, अपने सामने बनवा के खाना, जो भी खाओ, और पहुंच के वहाँ से फोन कर देना. फोन भी क्यों, फोन तो होते नहीं थे, मोबाइल फोन देना, तो एसटीडी ढूंढ के वहाँ से फोन करके. तो वी वर ऑलवेज वेरी independently brought up. Father, because he was a businessman from very young. Mom was also working to bring the household finances to the right state. From, I think I was in my KG class and my sister was in her second grade. From that point of time, we've been independent. Coming back home from school, opening the doors, coming home, everything we have been doing by ourselves. So that was just installed in us from. So Everest was another thing. Obviously, as parents, they had the fear.
Of course.
Because see, me following my passion was one side of it, was justified as a 16-year-old. But parents, there were a lot of questions from the society, which today stands and applauds them, which today stands and says, oh, you must be so proud of your son. They were the same people who were like, ये तो बच्चा है, तुम्हारा क्या घास खाने चला गया दिमाग? Why are you sending? पैसा कमाने के लिए तुम अपने बेटे को एवरेस्ट भी चढ़ा दोगे, है ना? Kinds of that, कि तुम्हें इनको अपने बच्चे की जान की परवाह नहीं है. एवरेस्ट चढ़ने के बाद भी, when every time I follow this profession, my own relatives sometimes, there were questions like, you understand?
Yeah, I do.
Questioning their integrity.
Completely.
Questioning a parent's integrity.
And they had to face it alone.
And face it alone, whereas most people can't see the mad person who I am inside the house.
Mountain.
Who's like, नहीं मुझे सांस नहीं आएगा, मैं नहीं जाऊँगा, मैंने ये नहीं करना, मैंने ये नहीं करना. This is my passion.
अच्छा, you did all this.
I have all kinds of dramas because obviously, see, parents, being an Indian parent, they were also questioning कि they used to ask me this question. दिन में 2 बार सुनता था, हम लोगों को क्या बोलेंगे कि हमारा लड़का क्या करता है, पहाड़ चढ़ता है, बैरागी है, बाबा है, पहाड़ों में घूमता है. So there were a lot of questions. And I feel if these questions were not there, I wouldn't have been half as tough as I am. I wouldn't have been this thick-skinned which I am. It was all a preparation for what was coming. And if you can't convince your parents, leave alone the world. your investors, that's you run your own business, attracting somebody into your idea, right? Convincing them that you are capable of going through this journey itself is something. If you can't do it at your home, people who believe in you, people who want you to do good, forget on the rest of the world, right?
But tell me honestly, I wanted to ask this for a long time. Don't like them, sachi utana. 16 mein, you were standing at the base, looking at the Everest, ऊपर जाना है, huge, I understood, and you want to go up. अब वहाँ पे, were you thinking about glory? तो there could be 3 things ना. End result तो सोचते हैं हम लोग कि end में ये होगा. तो क्या ये सोचे थे यार पेपर में छपेगा, मैं देखो 16 ये हो सकता है थॉट. दूसरा हो सकता है कि यार मैं शायद स्पॉन्सरशिप करूंगा तो शायद मैं दुनिया घूमूं, या कुछ समथिंग ऑन द करियर साइड हो सकता है. तीसरा हो सकता है कि वापस जाऊंगा तो मेरे दोस्त बोलेंगे भाई आई कांट बिलीव इट, मेरी नजरों में तो ऊपर चला गया. इन तीनों में से कौन सा क्रॉस्ड योर माइंड?
आई थिंक व्हेन नन ऑफ दीज थिंग्स क्रॉस योर माइंड व्हेन योर लाइफ इज एट स्टेक, है ना, यू गेट इनटू अ सर्वाइवल मोड. None of these things. It's like that simple mentality. A lot of people discuss this thing. If I give you $1 billion today, but you don't have any time to live, tomorrow you're going to die. Do you want the $1 billion? No. Exactly. So it's very comparative thing, right? Once it's your life, so you realize nothing is more important than. So the kind of mindset which I had first was blank, है ना? No experience, no past thing. Enjoy it. You're the youngest one. Obviously, a lot of insecurities in the sense that am I doing everything right? I'm the youngest one ever to do it. There were a lot of stereotypes around young mountaineers. People used to think that अच्छा अमीर बाप की कोई औलाद आ रखा है यहाँ पे 16-year-old चढ़ने के लिए, but nobody knew the background story. climbing 8,000 meter mountains historically has never been done by youngsters also. The sport of mountaineering goes like when you're young, you climb 5,000 meter, 6,000 meter mountains. As you gain a little bit more experience and financial stability in your life, then you start going towards 8,000 meter mountains. So 7,000 meter mountains. Then once you are like above 40, 35, 40 years old, then once you have that kind of financial stability to spend this kind of money on expeditions and the physical resistance and the, capability of endurance of actually going through it.
Mental also.
Then you start going for 8,000 meter peaks.
Okay.
So it was a very tabooish kind of a thing. कि मैं वहाँ पे था 16-year-old, everybody was looking at me with a lot of doubtful eyes. कि देखते हैं करेगा नहीं करेगा. He's not a Sherpa. He's not a mountain guy who's
The
coming
genetics
from
also do not support
so
it.
He's coming from plains all his life. He's lived at sea level. So there were a lot of stereotypes. And best thing was, as I say, I'm a fool in my own paradise.
Love it.
I love
Love it.
मुझे लोगों का criticism कुछ सुनाई नहीं देता, मुझे कुछ भी सुनाई नहीं देता, मैं अपनी दुनिया में मस्त रहता हूँ एकदम. मुझे किसी पे निर्भर होने की जरूरत नहीं
सारे
पड़ती.
पागल लोग ऐसे ही तो होते हैं. Like they decide they want to do something and they go do it.
तो बढ़िया था, and I got support from everywhere. The cosmos is watching over you, so people keep supporting. It was a very clear mindset that I have to do this. Especially looking at all of these people all around me who did not have faith in me, only reminded me of all those people in my life who never had faith in me. Right? I have had dreams so deep even after Everest that I have seen the people who actually started dreaming for lose faith in me also. Right? So there have been such instances also. So I feel पता नहीं आप उसको वो बोलते नहीं है सुअर की चमड़ी है इसकी तो वो वैसा हो गया. I've seen it is about कि when people say stuff to me or when I see a certain thing in somebody or that disbelief in me, I don't react to it anymore.
That's fuel, right?
So I put it in a circle, I bury it deep inside me, and obviously I cannot forget things, and I use it as rocket fuel in my most worst conditions. So that helps you. I internalize all of these things.
I was watching this video of you talking about Didi, your sister, saying that don't spend too much time in the mountains, varna you'll lose some brain cells.
This is basically particularly from Everest. We had barely had funds to get my equipment and gear and everything to pack me off safely for Everest. So satellite phones was a luxury. And we use satellite phones for communication from up there because of such extreme places where we are venturing out into. So I reached the Camp 4 of Everest, which is at 8,000 meters exactly. So वहाँ जाके such a beautiful view. I knew my parents were really worried. It had been 4 or 5 days that we had not had any communication with them. So there was this person who was next to me from Mexico, and he mentioned that I have a satellite phone. You can do a quick call if you want to. And I was like, wow, thank you so much. And then I picked up the phone from him. I gave a call to my mother, and after speaking to her, where are you? What are you doing? Where have you reached? Nahi hua kya? Summit वापस आ गए? Are you safe? Like, relax. Everything is going well. We are on the summit push. Last bit is remaining. I can see the summit of Everest from here. From Camp 4, when you look up, you see the Hillary Step, the last bit yellow band nahi. There's a place where you change our first oxygen bottle, the summit ridge. So it's it's like the final push, summit push we call it. So it's about 8 to 12 hours long depending on your speed. And it's still halfway, obviously you have to come back down also. So from behind, my sister's like, Arjun, don't spend too much time over there. I'm like, no, I will not. So we went up, I summited, and then on my way back down, her words were still playing because what she was saying was, she knew obviously when you're above 8,000 meters, your brain cells are dying slowly. You're losing basically brain cells due to lack of oxygen. So she was like, as it is, you don't have many to lose. You better come down quickly, okay? So that thing was in my head. Then I didn't, on my way back down, usually people after summiting Everest, we start at night. So let's say we reach Camp 4 today in the afternoon. We start at night. Usually in the Himalayas, the weather stays clear in the night. In the daytime, clouds start to come in. Visibility can be affected. So I started at 10 o'clock in the night on the 21st of May, reached the summit at 6:18 a.m. India time, came back down to Camp 4. Usually people after this entire push, they come back to Camp 4 and they spend the night over there. So, or to Camp 3. So what I decided, because this was playing in my head कि brain cells मर रहे हैं और जितना डम है उससे और ज़्यादा डम नहीं हो सकते, दिक्कत हो जाएगा, Legos भी नहीं जोड़े जाएंगे फिर तो फिर I didn't stop at Camp 4, kept pushing myself, went down to Camp 3, didn't stop at Camp 3, came down all the way to Camp 2 that day. So
but that's not normal, right? You should stop, right?
You should stop, you should give a body to cover, but this thing was there. So it was like a joke in our family. But on my way back down, I had a near-death experience then on the Lhotse phase. The most technical part of Everest is
Lhotse phase.
Lhotse phase. So there are two mountains. There's Everest and the fourth highest peak right next to it. It's like a horseshoe which is made from the two big mountains.
Okay.
And then this is the very steep phase which comes between Camp 2 and Camp 3 on Everest.
Okay.
So it's a good 60-70 degrees straight wall, which is almost like 900, almost 1100 meters, 900 to 1100 meters ke beech mein, long, straight going up into the sky.
Ice.
And you're like ants climbing on it basically, right? And it's made up of full blue ice and rocks. There's a lot of rockfall which happens sometimes.
Okay.
People have injuries, a lot of things happen. So basically on that wall while coming down, I took the wrong ropes, went on the wrong track and found myself hanging on a deep crevasse. Thankfully, the Sherpas were a few hours behind me, so they came, I was hanging. Then they took me out of there, but it was a close, near-death experience, but not... later on, I realized that was just the tip of the iceberg kind of an experience.
Tip of the
iceberg. There's an area on the mountain which is called the Bergschund. Bergschund is the area where the glacier is fed from the mountain, the glacier starts. This is the feeding point of the glacier. So the first biggest crevasse which comes between the mountain feeding the glacier and the glacier beginning is called the Bergschund. When the glacier further goes down and breaks down and crumbles and becomes into a river, that point is called the snout region. So this is mountain terminology basically.
Sure, okay.
Technical में नहीं घुसते.
नहीं बताओ
वो
ना.
बड़ा सा crevasse था. तो crevasse में basically उसके side से जाना होता था. पूरी wall है, उसके base में से crevasse बना हुआ है.
ठीक है.
So crevasses are so deep, they are basically cracks in the glacier which can go down 100 meters, 200 meters, 300 meters. You cannot but jump over it. Sometimes they are 20 feet wide.
Okay.
Sometimes they are just narrow, like half a foot wide.
Achha.
But they can go very deep into the earth's crust.
उसमें फंस गए तो it's a big problem.
It's so deep that it just goes black after a while.
Wow.
So a lot of accidents on mountains happen due to hidden crevasses and stuff.
Okay.
Same thing happened with me on my way back down. I got stuck on the wrong place. And then...
But you were alone when this happened?
Yes, because I was rushing down. My Sherpa had heavy loads. He was helping us wind up some camps. So he was like, you're already tired, you keep walking. Camp 2, you can see. At Camp 3, we met last. We were coming down, so I could see Camp 2 in the far distance. There are so many ropes up there. Some things are there. So took the older ones, the ropes so broken, आगे जाके उनके anchor नहीं लगे थे. So then I found myself hanging with the rope ending after another 5 or 6 meters.
If the Sherpa didn't find you, क्या होता?
So I would have been hanging there for the rest of my life. I think, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that day, I still remember it had as a 16-year-old, I'd climbed Everest, I'd done so much, and then I wouldn't even be alive to come back and share it with someone, right? So obviously I realized I'm going to die just seeing that big black void below my feet stretching out.
Again, were you able to think about something at that point? Were you thinking about family? What do you think
Yeah,
about?
you just have flashbacks. Very weird. I anchored myself over there on the ice and I was just hanging over there. And slowly I was losing my grip. So I knew...
You were literally hanging. There was no place to stand.
No, you're on the ice. So we put our crampons in and somehow I was just hanging over there. And it was a moment of just flashes of memory. You know, I was praying to God. Then in the middle, I was so exhausted. There had already been more than 30 hours of movements which we had done. So I was thinking, there were questions like, have I ever loved my parents enough? Did I respect my dad enough? Or God, just give me one more chance. I want to go back home and hug my sister. What all sins have I done in my life? All this just passing by quickly. Then Bryan Adams का बहुत बड़ा fan हूँ मैं. तो मैंने बोला एक बारी तो स्टेज पे खड़े होकर उसका गाना था. मैंने बोला अभी तो मौका मिला नहीं. So मतलब mountains are my audience. So let's start singing. So I started singing this Bryan Adams song while hanging over there. Summer of '69.
Really? I got my first one string.
One string only, Baba. Somehow, but thankfully the Sherpas came and they rescued me. And then in the coming years, we've had more such experiences, but that was just a good wake-up call for me also at that point of time. That
when I talk to people, I'm very blessed to meet a lot of people. I mean, not more than you, but get to meet interesting people. एंड ज़्यादातर उनके साथ क्या होता है, वी हैव दिस एक्सरसाइज वी डू वेयर आई से कि अगर आज आप डेथ बेड पे हो, मान लो आप 80 साल के हो, डेथ बेड पे हो, यू प्रॉब्ली हर्ड दिस बिफोर, what you're doing right now, will you talk about it on your deathbed? And the basic thing is, what you're doing right now, do you feel, not your friends, not your family, do you feel it significant enough that you are enjoying yourself, you're thinking you're making progress? Because that's what it is at the end of the day, right? You give out the light that you are. If you think that you're doing something important, making a difference, everything's set. You will be good with people. People will think he's a great person. It's just great. You are your own light. तो अब ये तो मैं theoretically बोलता हूँ, ये तो तुम्हारे साथ तो सच में हुआ. And you're still doing this, which means obviously you love what you do, right?
Absolutely. I think you have to invest your time in places where you think this is what you wanted to do, and also invest it a little smartly. One must have goals, one must have passion, and they must pursue it. Everything, every day which you lead yourself, I believe, is a blessing. And if the day we were born, we did not have any control over this life. The day is going to come, the day we are going to die also is just going to come, and we have no control over it. It happens with us. There are a lot of people who are not lucky enough to be with us today, let's say witnessing this sunrise or this day. But it is very important to lead every day your life. To all the youngsters also, I always say that very important to lead your life every day thinking that this is the last day you are alive. But don't completely exhaust yourself also, because just in case you survive, right, then you're going to be done, right? So always keep a backup plan also ready. Always live your life to a point. We are living in a generation where people say, I don't care about this, I don't care about that, I don't care about anything. Whereas I find it very, very stupid.
Yeah.
Being too disassociated with things, being too detached with things. Only when you invest your time doing something which you don't know doing, you go through a curve of emotions, of experiences, which show you that you're a fighter, that you can do better.
Life also becomes longer, right?
We are always all the youngsters around us, I see a general pattern in everybody that they like to do things which they're good at doing. So what happens is you never explore better parts of yourself, so many more versions of your own self which are hiding inside you.
Correct.
Right? One must always do things which they're not good at doing. What you're good at doing, you're just polishing up a skill further and further and further away. But you forget that whole learning curve which you went through
diminishing
when
returns
you were not good at doing something. That time you have that edge. When you're not good at doing something, that time you get that sharp edge into you that you want to get better every day. So one must lead the life with both aspects. Live every day like you're going to die tomorrow, but also every day keep gaining newer skill sets.
So in your life, what has been like disruptive? Like, I understand your mountaineering, then you have, I think, your education side. I think you love to like teach and see a transformational change in someone.
Absolutely. I feel that everybody out there has a mountain in their lives to climb.
Yeah.
It may not be a real mountain, but everybody has a mountain in their lives to climb. Every time we plan to go climb this mountain, it never goes according to the plan.
Yeah.
Right? We always have to
Beautifully
improvise.
so.
You can have enough plans. But yet it is so important to have a plan.
Yeah.
Right? Just because it's not going to go according to the plan, you cannot just be arbitrary also. Right? You have to have a plan set. Then you have to be ready to improvise, adapt, and evolve. Always improvise, adapt, and evolve. If you don't improvise, adapt, and evolve, any plan will go to a mess. Any kind of planning or whatever your resources are will all get exhausted.
It's like school, right, Arjun? Like when we were younger, every week, I mean, every day was an adventure, right? Everything you look with a sense of wonder, bewilderment, confusion, ask questions, try something new. That's why maybe like school seems so long, because
School was good, fun, and long also because we lived in the present.
Yeah, we did.
Right?
There was no anxiety. We didn't even know what it meant.
And I always feel that one must live in the present, achieve their everyday targets which we set for ourselves. Right? Achieving everyday smaller targets will help you reach to your weekly goals. Right? Once you start achieving your weekly goals, your goals must lead to a dream which you have. And then making multiple dreams come into a reality must be part of a bigger vision. I truly believe in this thing. Otherwise, just having a goal-oriented mindset will leave you very aimless. If you achieve your goals, then what? right? So it's very important that you somehow stitch it all also together.
Yeah.
You know, whatever you're doing, and it has to start with the small
Yeah,
things which you
yeah.
do and repeat every single day. Live in the present, enjoy everything all around you. Very important to do this thing. Education side of it is, as I was telling you before, we run our school programs which are called Find Your Everest.
Yeah.
The point of it is that after I climbed the Everest of my life, or I'm still constantly climbing mountains, I felt that this is a great feeling, right? And I was like, why should I just feel it? Okay, probably a hard nut like me had to climb Everest to figure out such a small
But maybe
thing.
we can do something else.
But something nobody, probably there are more profound people or more knowledgeable children than me, more receptive children than me, who probably might just learn these things from smaller activities also. So then I felt that there was a huge. I used to go to schools for motivational sessions. I used to go to colleges, universities, corporates. I felt that the youngsters today were little physically handicapped. Like how you look at a small squirrel, and the objective of it is just to become into a fully grown squirrel. You look at a small tree, the objective is to gain full growth. Nowadays I'm seeing people who are putting lack of passion towards their life, which is affecting their growth, and they're sliding it under things like, no, this is how I am, and you have to accept me the way I am, or if you don't, I'll go into depression and I'll have anxiety and all of this. This is all nonsense.
Yeah.
Right? A human being has 2 legs. They're supposed to be running a certain amount of kilometers every day. They're supposed to be using their hands. Dexterity is going down, psychomotor skills are going down, which is ultimately resulting in today children not able to, because okay, I understand knowledge is today an available resource, so you don't have to memorize stuff and
But that's
all
the
of these
problem.
things. But unfortunately, because of that, they are not flexing their brains enough. They are not flexing their capabilities enough, which is leading to duller brains.
Yeah, correct.
So as this is happening here, same thing is happening with the physical aspect also of the human body. If the brain is not physically healthy, how will it work functionally properly? I feel all of this mindset has got something to do with children lacking somewhere a touch with the outdoors. So that is where my dream came in, that we wanted
Completely.
to do
This also makes sense in the office, right? Like, I mean, my world is in this office and I see, again, overstimulated minds, understimulated bodies. You've gone through millions of years to actually make this prefrontal cortex, to actually build.
your upright spines,
do
your
that.
frontal cortex is so big.
Is so big. You cannot support it if the body isn't actually producing what it needs to, right? And I think just that screen is like our biggest enemy. Even you right now watching this, like you should go out for a run.
More than the screen, I feel practical experience is missing. And when I say practical experience, I mean doing things by yourself. Unfortunately, today, people are lacking this is because everything is so easily available. And what is happening by not having practical experiences, ki they have the knowledge bank of the size of, let's say, a football ground. But the understanding of the size of a fucking TT ball. You know, so much knowledge and so little understanding is leading to frustration. है ना कि मुझे ज्ञान तो हर चीज का है,
हो क्यों नहीं रहा है मेरे से?
मैं कर नहीं पा रहा कोई भी
हाँ.
चीज. तो that is where, because they have not gone through it doing practically, कि बिजनेस रन करना बहुत आसान होता है, ज्ञान हर सबको है कि मैं ये कर दूंगा, ऑनलाइन एड्स रन कर दूंगा, मैं ऐसे कर दूंगा, वैसे कर दूंगा, एक तरफ से खरीदूंगा, इतने में बेच दूंगा, मेरा काम हो जाएगा. इतना आसान होता तो सब नहीं कर रहे होते यार.
सही बात है.
ना, one has to go through journey, it will impress you in a certain way. Same thing is where in our education also today everybody has too much knowledge and very little understanding. Understanding comes from implementing that knowledge, seeing कि किताब में जो लिखा भी है ये सच है कि नहीं है. जब मैं करने आता हूँ मैं कितने इसको फॉलो कर सकता हूँ कि नहीं कर सकता. So that is where I feel there's a big difference.
I completely agree. I think all the case studies you also read was stuff that happened 10 years ago. I think relatability context का भी issue है. उसके बाद people are not able to actually do it, and I completely. That's because knowledge is available everywhere and accessible everywhere.
That's I've stopped reading books.
Love it.
I'm writing books.
I will
but I'm
write
not
the book
reading.
now.
I write books for earning money. See, I feel you can do all that you want to do for survival, but when the head hits the pillow, you should not be lying to yourself. You lie to the whole world for your survival. Survival is utmost important. That is what I've learned from the mountains. If it is putting money or bread and butter for your family on the dinner table, you can lie, you can do whatever you want to. But don't lie to yourself. Ki this is who I am. है ना? Or this is what I am.
Sure.
है ना? So these are not what we are.
मैं अब थोड़ा अलग ट्रैक पकड़ता हूँ. Do you have life insurance, health insurance? देखो, life insurance मिला आपको.
See, thankfully, our financial advisor is my own father.
Okay.
We've never needed CAs or anybody across. Now, obviously, when you're running organization or running a business, there are legal teams and all. But all of them get told all solutions by father only till date because practical experience again. Right. So thankfully, I've had a father who's been very wise in terms of financial planning. He's always taught us very smartly. From the age when PAN card भी नहीं आया था तब से मुझसे PPF भरवा रहे हैं यार वो तो क्या बताऊं मैं जब तक पैन कार्ड भी नहीं आया था शुरुआत
इक्विटी
में
थोड़ा इक्विटी हल्का सा इक्विटी भी इन्वेस्टिंग करना चाहिए ऐसे बट चलो अलग स्टॉक मार्केट में थोड़ा सा लिटिल बिट
to that I personally feel it's I don't have anything personal against it, but I don't have enough knowledge.
Makes
so
sense.
I generally don't get into stuff where I don't have enough knowledge about it. And investing is, again, I feel investing is a mindset which people start to feel when they spend too much money. And generally also, if you ask anybody or everybody, I think the last time I must have gone to a mall would have been 5 or 6 years ago. All my clothes are gifted to me. I am a sponsored child, as my parents say. I just feel it is a number. It has to be utilized somewhere or the else. And in investing, I have not done much, but I think these are all investments only. You do PPF, you have multiple policies running. All of this we do for tax saving and everything.
No, also I think your skill is your main investment, right? Like getting good at what you do is what your main investment is, right? Like
And I did that for the longest time. I don't do that anymore because I see that it's not the investment. If I do so much, if it is out of place, like see expeditions. Most people think that by climbing a lot of mountains, or let's say being successful at climbing a lot of mountains, will help them get sponsorships, will help them
That's not
get
true.
a lot of money. It does not work that way. You know, you have to be enterprising. If you can't communicate your story, if you don't know how to sell your product, if you don't have a vision to see through it,
Love
or
it.
if you don't have side products which are going to be placing through it. Ultimately, as a business runner, I just see today expeditions as an outgo. है ना? It's an expense for me, right? Today, I might do it if I'm able to afford it as an experience. I'm happy, I'm satisfied. I go there, I enjoy my experience, I get my learnings, and I come back, right? But if I'm going to look at it कि मैंने investment करा इससे मैं return कैसे निकालूंगा, then you'll be eventually stuck in a cycle where you'll not be able to do it.
Sure.
So if you're going to do marketing, you must have your product ready first. है ना? Marketing तो बाद की stage है. तो उसके लिए I feel that people should have enough products ready. People should be enterprising. India is a very growing market. If you're an adventurer, especially, there are so many sources of revenue which you can develop, multiple sources of revenue which you can develop. As I said, write a book, give gyan, do corporate talks, do everything, है ना, for whatever you want to do for survival. But don't go to say that this is who I am.
what's your next Everest? अभी तो see business ही हो रहा है. Was book the Everest? ऐसा
No,
तो नहीं.
so my dream, my biggest dream is obviously there are two parts of it.
Yeah.
One is I obviously want to climb the 8,000 meter peaks. That's a personal goal which I've kept for myself.
These are all of the 8,000 peaks in the world.
Yes, there are 14 mountains which go above 8,000 meters, and there's no Indian who's ever been able to climb all 14 of them. So I started this journey long time ago with the vision to finish these 14 and put India in that elite list of less than 40 people who ever climbed these 14 mountains.
Arjun.
So that's a personal goal for myself. The goal, the love which my country has shown me, the support which everybody's shown me, the bigger vision which I have for my country is that I want to have a climbing wall in every school in India, maybe a government school, maybe an international school. I feel climbing is a very instinctual thing which humans have done. It is one of the earliest known activities to humans. From climbing trees to climbing mountains to go further and further on. Explorers and adventurers have been at the outermost circle of the society when solutions were not being able to found in our society long time ago. These were the people who ventured out to other civilizations, to other cultures, to bring about newer technology, newer medicines, newer resources, newer kind of things, seeds, crops which could survive for the longest times. So I feel we are blessed to have a different perspective to the rest of the world because of this exposure to everything, and I want to give this thing to the rest of India. We have the mountains, we have land adventure, we have rivers over here, we have deserts, we have the backwaters, we have the ocean, we have everything along with us, right? So this is the great Indian adventure revolution, I call it. India is already going through it. When I started climbing mountains in 2010, there were only 2.5 million people who are actively engaged in the adventure sport business in India.
Okay.
And, even youngsters were not so adventurous. Now we are standing in 2022. It's been only 12 years since 2010. Today there are more than 25 million people, youngsters, all below the age category of 35, who are engaging constantly in adventure sports. Like there are reports coming out from Make My Trip, Yatra.com, all these biggest travel operators, that a person is spending 100 rupees on their travel today for traveling, out of which 80% of their money goes into inclusion of adventure activities into
their trip. Yeah, for sure.
So the young Indian has become adventurous already. I feel I don't want to take credit for it. There are so many more youngsters who are taking for it, but I feel this is the change which I had envisioned a decade ago almost. Now that change is coming in, and I want to take it to 250 million now. The active people who must engage in India in adventure sports has to be 250 million or more. Adventure tourism is on a rise, and not just that, along with adventure tourism being on a rise, we have to also start educating people, because when you're accessing the outdoors, you have to be respectful and live along with nature. You can't just abuse nature and come out of it, right? It has to be conserved. So conservation is a very big aspect which we are teaching school children as well. Now, all of these things which I've spoken about all starts from young minds. That is why the school programs, where we sow the seed of adventure into the young Indian at a very young stage, where
impressionable, and for a good thing,
Correct.
at least. They respect the outdoors and not the screen. I'm getting really upset with like people being indoors now, right? Like it's because, and COVID probably made it worse. And I also feel at the same time, our generation is now realizing that, dude, we should not be collecting stuff. We should be collecting experiences. At least a lot of people talk about it. And I know a lot of people are saying we should be collecting experiences versus, because that's what you can really look back. Everything else you'll probably sell, or it'll get old, or who really cares? And if that is the future, then I guess, this will really help.
You see the mental state of youngsters today on an average, if you just go to see, I won't even state big statistics, just look at around yourself. There are more and more people getting into, they're having anxiety issues, they're having depression, they're going through emotional instability, not being decisive, not very, very fickle-minded people today, this, tomorrow, that. These are all things, unfortunately, which are happening because of the same funda: too much gyan, very little understanding, and zero practical experiences. They feel that if they watch a movie, instead of going and actually, living it, it's good enough for them. And they'll talk after reading a book as if they themselves are the person who's gone through that kind of a life. So I see this dissociation, all of these things are because we've gone far away from nature, right? Young children must be left one-on-one in the wilderness, right? One-on-one with the mountains, one-on-one with these. अपने आप
drop them in the bus.
आटे दाल के भाव सब पता लग जाते हैं कि कैसे हालत खराब होती है जब see it is so stupid if you tell people as basic as even let's go the normal things you tell people won't shit. I've seen school children not take a dump out in the wild. They'll hold their shit for 2-3 hours because they've never done it.
I had to ask you this question. So, Arjun, speaking of shit, you were saying kids can't take a dump
out in the wild, correct.
अब ठंड में वहाँ तो इतने layers of clothes होते हैं.
Right.
How do you take a dump in the mountains?
So our equipment is also designed in a very specific manner, just like astronauts. We have like a half moon behind in our suit. So you open that zip up. And then obviously anything apart from when you're very, very much further away in the mountains, not basic hikes and trekking, till the time you have mud at your disposal, human waste is biologically friendly. But once you go beyond the glaciers also, higher up in the mountains, the feeding zones of the glacier, anything apart from snow, ice and rock is pollution. Even tree lines and all finished. मिट्टी नहीं है तो tree line कहाँ से आएगी, है ना? So mud is also not there. So obviously we use rest stop bags. We have these silver bags, which has it's a Ziploc bag, and it has a bioorganic powder inside it, and has a vestibule which comes out, and then you turn it over it, and then you take a dump in a bag, and then it turns your shit
biodegradable.
It turns your shit into basically a gel, and then you have to put the vestibule in so your hands don't get dirty. है ना? And then you zip it up, and then you have to bring it down. So every time
वो
you
पानी
take
में
a
नहीं
dump on
मिलेगा
the
फिर हमें से spring water नहीं अच्छा वहाँ पे पानी नहीं है
funny. So as you pee also, let's say sometimes in the night when we get out of the tent to pee, we use pee bottles most of the time in high altitude because going out is not practically possible outside.
and
the
you
tent.
bring that back as well.
So no, and then in the morning you empty the pee bottle in the snow. You have to be aware of snow. Your only source of water up there is also snow. You have to keep melting ice and snow to make water, so you have to be aware of yellow snow. That means that somebody's taken a piss in it. But when it's really cold, when you're pissing, it does not reach the ground. It just evaporates in the air because it's minus 60, minus 70 degrees Celsius. So the usual feeling of how you stand and you don't have to look, and you can hear it, and you know when it's done. You don't know over there when it's done. And it was so funny. One of the most funniest experiences was because you're wearing like 3-4 layers of clothes. Like even finding your best friend is very difficult. So anyways, it's when it's so cold, what happens is nothing is hanging out. So what the body does is it sucks it all in. So,
Interesting.
So nothing is neither both the parts are not hanging out.
Oh, so they have to be.
So they are completely just inside. Even the balls are just completely inside. So it's like a tiny peanut which is out there, and then there's so many clothes on top of it, and then you're like. So first time I was like, I forgot that I was wearing 4 layers instead of like 3.
Okay.
Usually I wear 3 layers.
Okay.
So then I went down 3 layers, and then I was like touching.
कहाँ गया?
I was like, where did it go? And then I was like, oh, no. There's another layer. Okay. So because it's so tiny, you don't even realize it.
Oh,
so
man.
it's that cold over there.
I'm sure there could be frostbite, right? You don't want to be hanging out there too long.
Thankfully, in that 15-20 seconds, there's no chance of frostbite. But yeah, if you're a person who likes to just keep it out hanging around. So
Good luck to you.
Good luck to you, yeah. This year I got a little bit frostbite, so toes have taken a little hit, but not amputation. Most of my mountaineering friends have only like 3 fingers in one hand and 2 in one hand, and आधा कान नहीं होगा, आधी नाक कट रखी होगी, होठ नहीं होंगे. Frostbite हो जाते तो extremities have to be cut because tissue dies. No, the cells don't die. मेरा इस बार cells तक पहुंच गया था, but tissues were not dead. So once the tissue dies, it just becomes black, and then you have to chop it off.
I saw a photograph of you with a friend who was on a hospital bed, and his nose was black. So I thought it was sunburn. It's not sunburn.
No, that's frostbite when it's black.
But you lead quite a risky life, I would say. अभी आप frostbite के बारे में बता रहे थे कि frostbite हो गया तो काट ही दो. तो okay. So I think I sort of understood how supportive your parents are, and they understand risk. My dad's also in the army, वैसे, by the way.
Oh, what?
Army education, retired. But my question was, आपका भी relation, apart from family, do you have a relationship that's ongoing? And
Yes. I think I've been married to the mountains for the longest time. And I have been most loyal to them for the longest time. But obviously, one lacks human connection after a while. As they said in the movie, a very famous movie, I won't name the movie, but they said happiness only exists when it's shared. So obviously the same thing happens. You have parents to share it with, but then umar ho jati hai to fir thoda sa और भी time की sharing चाहिए, companionship चाहिए होता है. तो I have a girlfriend. We've been dating for the last 4.5-5 years now. I'm going to get to hear about it later because I just said 4.5 years. I don't know how long.
When did you first meet? When did you first meet?
I blame it on the lost. I blame it on the lost brain cells.
What was she wearing when you first met her?
वो पहाड़ों की वजह से dead हो गए brain cells वो वाले. So that's going on, but thankfully she's also she's from Sikkim. She's from the beautiful state of Sikkim. I think it helps her understand the mountain mindset. And
she's as adventurous as you. I mean, not.
No, actually, poles opposite.
Beautiful. It'll work.
She's just not absolutely a hiker or a trekker, but has the same passion towards the mountains and the people of the mountain. I think that is the common point in us. But yeah.
No, love it. You know why I love meeting people like you is that you yourself are like this volcano, this thing, right? Everything around your life surrounds around this one thing that you love. Like you'll build your business around it, the people around it, everything around it. And the center of the universe is, dude, I love this thing and that's the mountain. And that's it. I just love it, man. So thank you so much for your time. But इतनी आसानी से नहीं जाने देंगे.
And then it's my pleasure to be here.
मेरे पास rapid fire section है.
Okay.
तो हम फटाफट पूछेंगे. And he's not seen these questions. तो
Okay.
Good
अभी
luck.
तक नहीं देखा है.
ठीक है. 5 question है मेरे पास.
Okay.
मैं भी नहीं पढ़ा हूँ.
Okay.
तो अभी पढ़ते हैं इसको. ठीक है. Ready?
हाँ.
ठीक है. Rapid करना है. What's your unfair advantage?
What's my unfair advantage?
Yeah.
Shit.
बहुत जल्दी बताओ. Pressure.
In what sense, मतलब? What,
In life. कि अर्जुन का ये unfair advantage यार ये मेरे पास नहीं हो सकता.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm a fool.
Oh, love it. What's the one thing that an aspiring millionaire should start right now? Interesting.
Oh, what's an aspiring millionaire
हाँ, ये
should?
बंदे को millionaire बनना है. He's say 20. तो what should he do? What's his path? He's thinking about money.
Follow your passion.
Love it. What's your favorite holiday destination?
Mountains.
Beautiful. चलो favorite mountain बता दो जो सुंदर दिखे. Like I like it. कि यहाँ पे मैं थोड़ी देर relax कर सकता हूँ.
All mountains are very beautiful.
What's your biggest regret?
Biggest regret? None actually. I don't regret. अगर regret आता तो अभी तक काफी life सुधार चुके होते.
And what's your biggest fear when it comes to say?
नहीं, actually I would say it again.
हाँ, ठीक है.
Regret है, ऐसी बात नहीं है. But I'm always constantly also actually I would say regretting, but never regretting to a point where it affects me. So regrets are about all decisions I made. I always feel after I've gone through a certain age that I could have done things better. Always.
So that's good, right? That means
I just
retrospective
always-
हो रहा है, and you're improving also every year.
हमेशा से देखो तो क्या
हाँ मेरे को भी लगता है कि यार
क्या
ये
कर रहा था मैं क्या सोच रहा था मैं पहले पता नहीं है ना उसके but when you're going through it you're so convinced about it.
ये सही है. ऐसा लगता है ना.
और सबको आप फिर बना देते हो जो बाद में खुद के लिए लगता है.
समझ गया मैं. अच्छा, you're also an entrepreneur, although it primarily आप expeditions करते हो, but you're also an entrepreneur. तो what's your biggest fear when it comes to money in that business? See, money is a tool to run the business. तो उसमें कुछ biggest fear है कि यार ये शायद ये नहीं होना चाहिए.
No. हम हमारी इंडस्ट्री के गुंडे हैं, है ना? We are the best in what we do. We work on trust. Adventure works on trust. And I don't think any other company in India has the kind of trust which my company has. So there is no fear. I know this.
ये तो बहुत अच्छा आंसर था. मजा आया. And finally, what's next for you? You already told me, but फिर भी एक line.
Next is for me, as I said, there are two mountains which I am climbing. Obviously, I have to go back to Annapurna. I haven't been able to climb Annapurna. I have climbed it twice till now. Once I had to turn around about 450 meters from the summit. This year I had to turn around about less than 150 meters from the summit. So very
the summit?
Yes, very close, but
Because?
yet so far.
Why?
I got frostbite this year, so I had to turn around. Now couple of decisions in that whole process which I regret a bit, but ठीक है. And then on the business front, definitely we want to have a climbing wall in every school in India. We want to have more than 250 million people in India accessing the outdoors, conducting safe adventure activities, and heading out to find the Everest of their lives.
And become mentally stronger by becoming physically stronger.
Physically fitter. Correct.
Love it. Thanks, dude.
Lovely. Very nice meeting you today, Prateek.
Yeah.
I think it has been a fantastic conversation and very nice to see such youngsters like you also. Mostly I see a lot of fickle-minded people at your age, but it's very nice to see somebody passionate.
I'm older
somebody
than
trying
you,
to see
but
through.
it's okay.
I know that. But it's very nice.
But Arjun, after he met, you guys know I just talk a lot, like just how I am, and I've accepted it. So has everyone else. And Arjun baat kar boli जा रहे and thanks for Abhishek for introducing, man. He runs this beautiful group called the Sanford Group.
Correct.
And he's the CEO. पीछे बैठा हुआ है, must amazing guy. And मैं बोली जा रहा, and then Arjun comes in there and is like, देखो, अगर आपको बड़ा आदमी बनना ना इतना ऐसे बहुत हाई बहुत लो नहीं, ऐसे पीसफुल रहना। Like अर्जुन।
नहीं, बड़ा आदमी छोटा आदमी नहीं, पीसफुल आदमी रहना।
पीसफुल आदमी रहना, मेक सेंस।
बाकी सब अपने आप हो जाता है।
5 साल बाद मिलेंगे हम लोग।
बड़ा आदमी छोटा आदमी कोई भी नहीं होता।
I agree,
है ना? हाँ, सब बड़े ही होते हैं। It's until unless you realize it. The more we stay at zero, the better.
Sustainable this will be.
हाँ, the consistency will be better.
मेक सेंस। कंसिस्टेंसी हम तो 2012 से पढ़ा रहे हैं यार, हम तो टीचर ही हैं हम तो। थैंक यू डूड।
Lovely.